Hello students, let us continue the lesson. Now, let's recall what happened. Now, Nagendra's advice to Babu was to pretend like a mad. But, and this tricky action was succeeded and Gupta was happy at this tricky action. Now, later, this great wisdom of Nagendra had become a talk of the town. Now, next, let's go through the lesson. Now, Gupta was not pleased. Though he succeeded in the tricky action, he was not pleased. Why he was not pleased? Because he saw that his son would have to feign madness always, or else the king would find out he had been tricked. Because he had pretended to be mad, he escaped from the king's anger. But when the king finds out he had pretended, that would be difficult for them. He saw that his son would have to feign. That means feign, meaning pretend. He has to pretend like mad always throughout his life, or else the king would find out he had been tricked. He would certainly chop off his son's head if he found out. If he found out the reality that he had pretended, he would chop off his son's head. So back they went to Nagendra for more wisdom. Now again they went to seek wisdom from Nagendra. For another 500 rupees, Nagendra advised them. So what was the advice? Now they got it. They bought for 500 rupees. Go back to the king when he is in a good mood and tell him the whole story. This was the piece of wisdom he sold. Now he will find it amusing and will forgive you. And he just advised them to go back to the king and just tell him when he is in a good mood, tell him the whole story. Then he will find it amusing. Amusing, that makes someone laugh or smile, and he will forgive you. But make sure he is in a mood of laughter. When he will be in a good condition, you just say all the story to him. And so Babu followed the advice, found the king in a merry mood and told him the story. Now, did the king agree to this? The king laughed a lot and forgave him. He was in a good mood and he laughed at his story. The king laughed a lot and forgave him. Now then, the king, who was intrigued by what he had heard of Nagendra in the market, sent for him. Now by this time, the king was aware of Nagendra's wisdom. Now he was curious to know about Nagendra. Who was intrigued. Intrigue means aroused the curiosity. Curiosity aroused in his mind and asked if he had any more wisdom to sell. He went to Nagendra and asked if he had any wisdom to sell to him. The boy said, "Of course, I have plenty to sell, especially to the king. But my fee would be 100,000 rupees. Now, the king wanted the piece of advice from Nagendra. Then Nagendra demanded the king 100,000 rupees, that is lakh. The king paid him the 100,000 and the boy gave him a piece of paper on which he had written, "Think deeply before you do anything." Now this was the piece of advice he gave it to the king. The king was so delighted with the advice that he made it his motto. He liked his advice very much. He had it embroidered on his pillows and engraved on his cups and plates so that he would not forget it. So the piece of advice what Nagendra gave, that was think deeply before you do anything. That he made his motto. He engraved the same advice on his cups and even on plates so that he would not forget it. So now these are the words that you came across so far. Feign, pretend. Amusing, that makes someone laugh or smile. Intrigued, aroused the curiosity. Now let's end up here. Let's continue in the next class. Thank you.